Welcome to the first in a series of videos on turning your Nord Micro Modular into a groove box. The first module required is in the In and Out tab. I select a one output and drag it into the panel. Next, I need a clock to drive the sequencer. This is found in the LFO tab. It has a picture of a metronome on it. Drag it into the panel. Now I need to make a noise, so I need an oscillator. At this point I need to explain something about the limited resources of the Nord. It's a virtual modular synth, so this is just a computer model, and as such each module in that model uses an amount of the processing power which is available on the DSP chip. To keep things light and get more sound, there is a sneaky trick you can use. If you look carefully, the master oscillator only uses 0.76%. However, oscillator A uses around 11% and oscillator B around 8%. So, instead of either of those, I use a combination of a master oscillator to determine the pitch of the voice and generate the sound with much lighter LFOs ramped up to an audible range. That way I can have a tuned interval between a sawtooth and a square wave in this case, which is much more interesting than a single oscillator anyway. Of course, I then need an envelope and a filter to make a basic subtractive synth. You can see that even with the heaviest load of filter on my DSP, the load is still under 15%. And if we're going to have three elements in our groove box, each one should have about 33% of the load, which means now we have just over 15% to play with for sequencing. Okay, our clock generates two different splits, 24 pulses per beat or 4 pulses per beat. And to keep things under control, we use a fixed clock divider which will give us 1/8, triplets or 1/16 for our sequencer to use. So now, connect the output from the sequencer to the pitch of the master oscillator and turn the input control up to full. Then connect the gate to the envelope for a basic, simple sequence. We can do better. We want some variation that occurs automagically. Grab a crossfade and from the mixer section, and we will use this to swap between two signal inputs. Use another note sequencer and wire both of your step sequencers to the crossfade and the output from the crossfade to the pitch of the master oscillator. When you pan the crossfade, you swap between the sequences. We want this to happen automatically, so we grab a clocked pulse generator from the LFO tab. Wire the click on the pulse generator to the link output on one of the sequencer modules. This way a pulse fires every bar. We then use a compare module from the logic tab. This sets a threshold so we can decide how likely it is that the pattern is going to shift. That way we know it is not going to change constantly, and it gives us some control over the groove. To finish, we are going to use a similar trick on the gate, so we do not have a straight 1/16 pattern. In order to make sure we get a trigger on the first beat of every bar, we are going to take a control mixer and plug a link signal from the sequencer as well as an output from the second compare module and plug that into the amp of the gate. And then you end up with a slightly stuttered sound. Don't forget, like, subscribe and share with as many people as you like. If this has been helpful, let me know in the comments. If there's anything else you'd like to know about the Nord, ask in the comments. Always happy to share, and I am going to work out a way to make this patch available and any other patches that you're interested in, because I know people have asked. Take it easy. See you next time.